Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been a supporter of businesses, not only in my district, but around the Commonwealth. So it's really concerning to hear from the business community that we have a comprehensive system, that it's a transparent system, that it's going to create compliance headaches when we've very clearly heard the health outcomes and the negative health effects from all of these things that we are repeatedly bombarded with that are marketed to our children. I do have a couple of specific questions, one having to do with colors and one having to do with some of the remarks made regarding the generally recognized as safe process. And one of those remarks was that it creates, I think it was said, a de facto parallel FDA, when in fact we're asking for the information. If you've determined by your company, your food manufacturer, and you're saying something's generally recognized as safe, we're just asking to provide us with that data. Why would consumers not be allowed to see the very same information that you use to make that self-determination that this is safe? And I don't know who wants to take that, but my question regarding the coloring, it was said again and again, there's this rigorous FDA process, is expensive, it takes a long time, and you have to have this approval of the color additive prior to it coming to market. So with these additives that we're looking at here in Pennsylvania that have been looked at across the nation, and several other states have already taken steps to ban them, when were those colors approved? Like, how old is the research? So my first question is regarding the generally recognized as safe process, and then I think for the International Association of Color Manufacturers.
Well, I'm happy to start on the grass and let my co-testifiers supplement, but I think your question is in relation to a piece of your package that House Bill 1130, where you want the Department of Agriculture to essentially create a database. There's several key issues with that proposal specifically. Well, let me preface this by, we're concerned about any state-by-state food regulatory mandates and patchwork systems, but to speak specifically to your concerns with 1130, there's no timeline for the Department of Agriculture to list or approve a submitted grass substance to them.
But do you agree the data should be available to the public, to the consumers who are going to be eating this stuff? Why hide the data? That's all the bill asks to do, is to just show the data.
Well, I think I would reject the premise that consumers don't have data available to them already.
We don't have the industry-funded data that made that determination in the first place.
Well, there's proprietary information concerns with that. I don't think that just submitting this information and making it publicly available to the consumers, making it available to consumers is already done. Making that proprietary information available or forcing industry to do that is going to stymie innovation, it's going to raise costs, and quite frankly, as part of this bill, it's going to take items from the shelf because there's no timeline for these to be listed on this database that's being created. So it's creating a tremendous amount of uncertainty. And by the way, businesses are going to pay to keep this database up and running with no cap and can be changed on a year-to-year basis. So there's a lot of fundamental issues with this bill, none of which, there's a continued concern about making patchwork systems because we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage when other states and other industries in other states do not have to comply with these duplicative standards.
But we're trying to protect the Pennsylvania consumer who does not have access to that information. When it is a grass determination, that companies not even required, it's a voluntary disclosure to the FDA. It's completely voluntary. So it's like, hey, the scientists that we paid said this thing that we invented is cool, and then it goes to market, and then it can never get off. It might sit there for 35 years. So we're asking for transparency.